3:15 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz. The pitch-black waters of the Persian Gulf are about to become a graveyard for a multi-million-dollar Iranian ambush. If you think the age of massive naval broadsides is over, then you are about to witness a brutal wake-up call that turns a carefully laid trap into a humiliating underwater slaughter. A colossal Iranian trap, secretly designed to rip the heavy steel hulls off American destroyers, has just been spectacularly flipped on its head. Instead of American steel sinking to the bottom of the sea, it is the Iranian fast attack craft getting absolutely shredded into burning fiberglass splinters by roaring 5-inch deck guns, while their so-called invisible minefield gets completely erased by a wooden ghost ship. Stay focused, because how this 2-mile-wide choke point transforms from a deadly ambush into a masterclass of American tactical superiority is going to make you question every single dollar Iran spent on this highly suicidal mission. The Iranian commanders, operating under the cloak of darkness from their Avenger-class frigate, are practically passing around the celebratory tea already. They genuinely believe they have mathematically checkmated the United States Navy using a cheap asymmetric warfare doctrine. Their Zolfaghar-class fast attack craft have spent the last few hours silently slipping through the inky black waves, dumping magnetic EM-52 bottom mines into the mud and scattering SADAF-02 contact mines right at the surface. To ensure the American fleet is completely overwhelmed and forced to slow down right into this explosive maritime zipper, a blind swarm of 40 cheap, loud Shahed 136 suicide drones is launched into the night sky. In the minds of these tacticians, this is a financial masterstroke. They are banking on the assumption that a multi-billion-dollar American strike group will panic and launch $2 million interceptors at flying lawnmowers. But here is the catch that the Iranian planners missed: a lethal oversight that only those who truly understand modern naval data sharing will spot. While the Iranian crews are high-fiving each other in the dark, congratulating themselves on their supposed tactical genius, they are completely oblivious to the fact that they are already dead men floating. The pitch-black sky above them is not empty. Cruising quietly at 30,000 feet, an E-2D advanced Hawkeye is looking down with an all-seeing electronic eye, turning the entire theater into a high-definition video game for the American commanders. Through the Link 16 tactical data network, this airborne brain is instantly feeding the exact coordinates, speed, and altitude of every single incoming Shahed drone and creeping fast attack craft directly into the Aegis combat system of the U.S. fleet below. The multi-billion-dollar American destroyers are not panicking, and they are certainly not reaching for their expensive Standard missiles to shoot down cheap fiberglass trash. If you were the commander of this strike group, would you waste a fortune? Or would you trust a far more brutal mathematical equation? The glowing displays inside the Combat Information Center of the Arleigh Burke destroyers explode with dozens of hostile red tracks, painting a terrifying picture. The buzzing horde of 40 explosive-laden Shahed 136 drones closes the distance at terrifying speed, attempting to force the massive American warships to drop their speed and navigate the choke point, bringing them directly over the submerged magnetic sensors of the bottom mines. This is the exact moment where the Iranian commanders believe they have forced the United States Navy into an impossible mathematical corner. The incoming suicide drones are effectively flying mopeds that cost less than a used Honda Civic. But the standard American response to an airborne threat is the SM-2 interceptor missile, a sophisticated piece of aerospace engineering with a price tag north of $2 million. If you fire a $20 million volley of advanced interceptors to swat down a few $100,000 worth of fiberglass, you bleed your defense budget dry and play right into the asymmetric warfare playbook of the enemy. But if you hold your fire to save money, those clumsy drones will smash into the critical phased array radars of the Aegis combat system, blinding the fleet just as the heavy steel hulls drift over the deadly magnetic influence fields of the EM-52 mines lurking in the mud below. Most people looking at this chaotic radar screen would see an overwhelming tactical nightmare, but those with a sharp strategic eye will realize this is not a crisis of firepower, it is a crisis of economics. The trap is perfectly designed to drain the American magazines of their most expensive ammunition before the naval knife fight even begins. leaving the multi-billion-dollar strike group economically exhausted and vulnerable to the floating CIWS-02 contact mines bobbing in the dark waves. The tension inside the American command center is thick enough to cut with a combat knife, as the distance between the billion-dollar ships and the cheap flying bombs collapses. Every second the fleet waits to engage, the risk of a catastrophic deck fire increases, while every expensive missile fired is a financial victory for the Iranian planners sitting safely on their frigate miles away. Stay with me, because the way the US Navy solves this multi-million-dollar dilemma is going to rewrite the rules of aerial engagement and leave the Iranian tacticians completely speechless. On the cramped bridge of the Iranian Mujj-class frigate, orchestrating this doomed flotilla from a supposedly safe distance, the atmosphere is nothing short of a premature victory parade. The commanders are leaning over their glowing radar consoles, sipping strong tea and exchanging arrogant, teeth-baring grins as they watch the swarm of 40 Shahed 136 drones inch closer to the multi-billion-dollar American strike group. Down on the dark water, the crews of the fiberglass Zolfaghar-class fast attack craft are literally high-fiving in the humid ocean air, gripping their weapons and shouting praises to their own tactical genius. They genuinely believe that the mighty United States Navy is frozen in fear, terrified of spending millions of taxpayer dollars to shoot down their cheap flying garbage, and completely blind to the deadly EM-52 magnetic bottom mines lurking just beneath the waves. The Iranian leadership is practically drafting their triumphant press releases, mocking the perceived hesitation of the American fleet and calculating the massive political embarrassment they are about to inflict on the world stage. To them, the absolute silence from the Arleigh Burke destroyers is the sound of submission, the pathetic whimper of a high-tech giant being bullied by a low-budget swarm. If you ask why they are so arrogantly confident, I will tell you an unbelievable military secret. They are confusing American operational patience with tactical paralysis. They are so drunk on their own asymmetric warfare propaganda that they fail to realize the US commanders are not hesitating out of financial fear, but are simply waiting for the perfect firing solution. But folks, here is the lethal error that is about to turn this arrogant celebration into a fiery fiberglass funeral pyre. The Iranians think they are playing a game of maritime chess against a blind opponent, completely unaware that the physics of destruction is about to change forever. The second act of this torch party was just getting started. Most people looking at the horizon would only see the terrifying swarm of 40 Shahed 136 drones closing the final distance, practically tasting the steel of the American fleet. But those with a truly sharp tactical mind will notice the absolute absence of a frantic missile launch from the Arleigh Burke destroyers. The United States Navy is not hesitating. They are executing a flawless mathematical slaughter. Stay focused, because how this ends is a masterclass in making the Grizzly blink first, turning a perceived vulnerability into an overwhelming technological execution. Instead of firing a $2 million SM-2 missile at a flying lawnmower, the fleet commander plays the secret trump card. Hovering just above the dark waves, completely invisible to the arrogant Iranian radar operators, a squadron of American combat helicopters suddenly pitches up into firing position. They are not carrying heavy Hellfire missiles for this fight. They are locked and loaded with the Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, or APKWS. Here is the genius detail that makes this a masterpiece of strategic intimidation. The US took a dumb, unguided 70mm Hydra rocket left over from the Cold War, slapped a $30,000 laser guidance kit on the nose, and turned it into an ultra-precise drone-killing sniper rifle. The E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, still orbiting like an all-seeing god at 30,000 feet, paints every single incoming Iranian drone with an invisible laser matrix. The helicopter pilots pull the triggers, and a volley of cheap rocket motors violently ignites in the humid night air. A streak of fiery exhaust rips across the sky. The $30,000 laser seeker instantly locks onto the painted target, and the high-explosive warhead detonates with absolute kinetic perfection. The thermal truth is about to get very, very loud. In a matter of seconds, the entire 40-drone blind swarm is systematically erased from the sky. instantly transformed from a proud Iranian offensive into a pathetic rain of burning fiberglass confetti splashing harmlessly into the Persian Gulf. The Iranian tacticians are staring at their screens in absolute disbelief, watching their multi-million-dollar drone strike evaporate into thin air without the Americans spending a single dime on heavy surface-to-air missiles. If you were the Iranian commander right now, watching your entire aerial strategy get casually swatted out of the sky by a budget-friendly rocket, would you start screaming for air cover? Or would you finally realize that you just brought a cheap toy to a high-tech financial execution? The math is brutal. The return on investment is absolutely humiliating for Iran, and the slaughter has only just begun. With the aerial distraction turned to ash, the American fleet does not flinch at the underwater death trap. The arrogant Iranian crews are eagerly waiting for the massive magnetic signatures of the destroyers to trigger their EM-52 bottom mines. But here is the twist that makes this mission a masterclass in technological humiliation. The U.S. Navy deploys the Avenger-class minesweepers. Most people just see a slow ship, but those with an eye for elite naval engineering know this is a phantom vessel built entirely of wood and fiberglass. It glides right over the magnetic sensors without leaving a ripple, deploying high-resolution sonar to map the invisible minefield with embarrassing clarity. Stay tuned, because the physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds is about to make the Iranian tactical manuals look like a joke. The massive MH-53E Sea Dragon helicopter flies low, dragging the Mark 105 magnetic minesweeping sled. This sled acts as an electromagnetic decoy, screaming with the fake magnetic signature of an aircraft carrier. Dozens of hidden EM-52 mines detonate miles away from any real target, throwing harmless geysers of seawater into the night sky while the Iranian commanders watch their underwater ambush evaporate. But wait, there is one more layer to this triple threat failure. With the safe lane blown wide open, the overwhelming Punisher, the destroyer USS McFall, steps up to the plate. The AN/SPY-1D radar locks onto the panicked Iranian Zolfaghar speedboats. The crews who were high-fiving minutes ago are now violently slamming their throttles in absolute terror, desperately trying to outrun a 50-pound artillery shell. It is a mathematical impossibility. The roaring 5-inch MPK-45 deck gun barks fire, sending air-bursting rounds that do not even need a direct hit to violently rip the fiberglass speedboats into burning splinters. Simultaneously, the automated Phalanx CIWS unleashes a deafening chainsaw roar, vomiting a wall of depleted uranium that absolutely shreds the remaining Sadaf 02 floating mines. Humiliated, blind, and sinking, the doomed henchmen finally realized they just brought a plastic toy knife to a brutal naval artillery execution. The Persian Gulf falls dead silent, save for the crackling of burning Iranian fiberglass drifting aimlessly on the dark waves. The multi-billion-dollar American strike group glides effortlessly through the sanitized Strait of Hormuz, absolutely untouched and without a single scratch on their heavy steel hulls. The trap is dismantled, but here is the financial twist that will keep the Iranian planners awake in a cold sweat. Deep inside the launch cells of the USS McFall, the expensive $2 million SM-2 missiles remain completely untouched. The United States Navy just annihilated a massive asymmetric ambush using pocket change, laser-guided rockets, and a wooden ghost ship. The Iranian commanders are staring blankly at their dead radar screens, realizing their entire operation was an astronomical failure. If you were the Iranian commander, having just burned millions of dollars to achieve zero American casualties, would you even dare to report this humiliating financial disaster back home? But the United States military does not just block a punch, they shatter the jaw that threw it. While the Iranian commanders watched their fiberglass navy burn, American electronic warfare aircraft were quietly vacuuming up every encrypted radio transmission, instantly pinpointing the exact coastal warehouses where this pathetic ambush was born. Hundreds of miles away, the deafening roar of F-15E Strike Eagles rips through the night sky to deliver the final receipt for this catastrophic failure. They unleash a relentless volley of 2,000-pound GBU-31 JDAMs smart bombs. The massive warheads bury themselves deep into the Iranian coastal bunkers before detonating, instantly vaporizing the dockyards and millions of dollars of military infrastructure in a spectacular series of blinding thermal flashes. The sunrise reveals nothing but smoking craters and the absolute humiliation of an enemy who thought they could outsmart the ultimate financial meat grinder. So I want to hear from the tactical masterminds watching this. If you were commanding this theater tomorrow, would you try to salvage the cheap swarm strategy or admit that American technological supremacy is unbeatable? Let me know your Grandmaster move in the comments below.